Wow, it's a truly pivotal moment for Saab and its flagship fighter, the Gripen. Yes, Sweden officially took delivery of its first Gripen E near the end of October, a proud milestone on its own. But honestly, that moment fades in comparison to what could come next, because two massive developments are unfolding at once, both capable of reshaping Saab's global footprint. First, Ukraine. Still locked in a brutal fight for survival against Russia's invasion, Kyiv has made a decisive move toward modernizing its air force. On October 22nd, Ukraine and Sweden signed a letter of intent, a formal step forward in defense cooperation. And it wasn't just paperwork. After his meeting with Swedish Prime Minister Ulf Kristersson, President Volodymyr Zelensky took to social media with a powerful message. We greatly value our relations with Sweden and all forms of support for our people. One of the key topics of our negotiations is strengthening Ukraine's defense capabilities. We consider the JS-39 Gripen to be one of the most effective elements of this effort, and we count on the first deliveries already in 2026. That statement alone sent ripples through the defense world. It signals not only Ukraine's faith in Sweden's engineering, but also a clear intent to diversify away from US-dominated platforms like the F-16 and F-35. Meanwhile, another headline is quietly emerging across the Atlantic. Saab is reportedly considering Canada as a potential assembly hub for the Gripen E, a move that could significantly ramp up production while bringing advanced aerospace jobs to North America. In today's video, we're breaking down both stories, Ukraine's major interest in the Gripen and the strategic idea of assembling these jets on Canadian soil. And we'll also explore why pilots around the world swear by this jet's design, performance, and battlefield adaptability. Friends, if you enjoy this video, make sure to like and subscribe to SkyJet Wings. Following Ukraine's letter of intent, Swedish and Ukrainian officials didn't hold back their optimism. Saab CEO Michael Johansson and Swedish defense leaders described the move as a new era of cooperation. Sweden's defense minister, Paul Johnson, went even further, declaring, "We are one step closer to seeing Gripen protect Ukraine's airspace." He confirmed that Ukraine has requested between 100 to 150 Gripen E fighters, and Sweden is now exploring how such a deal could be financed. If this goes through, it wouldn't just be another export deal. It could become one of the largest fighter jet orders in Swedish history. To put that in perspective, right now, Saab has confirmed production orders for 60 Gripen S's for Sweden and 36 for Brazil. So, an additional order of up to 100 aircraft would triple that output, pushing Saab's production lines to their limits. But, and there's always a but, the letter of intent is not yet a contract. There's still a long way to go before we see Ukrainian pilots in the cockpit of a Gripen. The biggest question? Who's going to pay for it? Even with international backing, the financing model for this deal remains unclear. Will Sweden shoulder the cost? Will NATO allies pitch in? Or will it become part of a larger EU defense initiative? At this stage, all options are still on the table. Another question is timing. Why now, and not 3 years ago when the war was still fresh and the need for advanced jets was even more urgent? That's a fair question. But as the saying goes, better late than never. And right now, the urgency is even greater. As Russia adapts, Ukraine's air defenses are stretched thin, and time is not on their side. It's also notable that President Zelensky personally visited Saab's Gripen production facility during his Sweden trip, a symbolic moment showing real intent. Because if this deal happens, Saab will need to significantly ramp up output. And that brings us to another critical headline. Saab is now evaluating the idea of Gripen production or assembly in Canada, a move that could not only accelerate manufacturing, but also cement Saab's presence in North America. Friends, if you have any question about this, tell us in comment below. According to CBC, Saab CEO Michael Johansson recently told financial news outlets that if Ukraine moves ahead with its plan to acquire over 100 Gripen fighters, it would double Saab's current production requirements. That's massive, and it's already sending ripples through the global defense industry. Both the Financial Times and Reuters report that Saab is now actively searching for new ways to expand its production capacity, with two leading options on the table: Canada and several European sites. This is where things get interesting. Simon Carroll, president of Saab Canada, told the Canadian press that Saab views Canada and its formidable aerospace industry as an important partner to support the significant increase in global demand. He went on to add, "We're continuing to grow and develop our relationships with Canadian companies to support our programs and products, both for Canada and for the export market." In simple terms, Saab is setting the stage for something much bigger than a single defense deal. It's quietly weaving Canada into its global supply and production chain, and that could have strategic and political implications far beyond aerospace manufacturing. Because while this expansion talk aligns perfectly with the potential Ukraine order, it also taps into Canada's own fighter jet debate. For years, Saab's Gripen has been floated as a potential alternative to replace Canada's aging CF-18 fleet, especially as the F-35 deal remains uncertain and politically controversial. With Ottawa-Washington trade relations cooling off in recent months, the idea of exploring non-US defense options suddenly looks far more appealing, both economically and diplomatically. Still, not everyone in the Canadian defense establishment agrees. Some military officials argue that sticking with the American-built F-35 is the only way to maintain deep integration with NATO systems, especially since parts of the deal have already been signed. So now, Canada stands at a crossroads. Does it stay within the traditional US orbit or take a bold step toward partnership with a rising European defense power like Sweden? That's the quiet question hovering behind Saab's growing presence in North America. But there's one huge wild card in all of this, a single factor that could throw a wrench into every plan involving Ukraine, Canada, or anyone else hoping to get their hands on the Gripen. That wild card is the United States, and more specifically, President Donald Trump. Here's why. Those who know the Gripen E inside and out understand that, for all its Swedish engineering brilliance, the jet relies on one critical American component: the General Electric F414G turbofan engine. That's right, the heart of the Gripen is American-made. And that gives Washington leverage. Defense analysts are already warning that the US could block or delay export licenses for any sale involving that engine, whether it's to Ukraine, Canada, or any other country. Legally, the US has that authority under ITAR, International Traffic in Arms Regulations. And politically, well, that's an entirely different story. It's not far-fetched to think that a Trump-led White House might block a Gripen sale to Canada just to push through the F-35 deal, a deal that benefits American defense contractors and keeps Ottawa tied tightly to Washington's defense agenda. Would Trump go as far as blocking Gripens for Ukraine? At first glance, that seems unlikely. But then again, this is the same US administration that refused to provide long-range Tomahawk missiles to Ukraine, out of fear they'd strike oil refineries deep inside Russian territory. So yes, the political winds in Washington could shift everything. And with US-Canada relations already strained over trade disputes and defense spending arguments, it's entirely possible that Washington may want to prevent Canada from benefiting economically through Gripen production or assembly. We are, without question, entering uncertain times. Defense politics, alliances, and business interests are colliding in unpredictable ways. Yet, despite all that, the Gripen continues to earn praise across the aviation world. It may not be a true fifth-generation stealth fighter like the F-35, but its latest E variant comes astonishingly close. Often described as a 4.5 generation marvel, it blends agility, cost efficiency, and advanced electronic warfare systems that make it a formidable adversary in real combat scenarios. And that's exactly why both pilots and analysts keep saying the Gripen might just be the smartest fighter jet in the world that doesn't need to hide to win. Drop your thoughts in the comments below. And if you found this breakdown insightful, don't forget to like, subscribe, SkyJet Wings. Thanks for watching. Now, let's talk about what really makes the Gripen such a fascinating aircraft: its technology, its design, and the philosophy behind it. Saab built the Gripen as a true multi-role fighter, one that could do everything from air defense to ground attack, all while remaining affordable and easy to maintain. In fact, Saab proudly highlights that the entire engine can be replaced in under an hour. That's not a marketing claim, that's battlefield-level practicality. The jet also features hot refueling capability, meaning it can refuel while its engine is still running, a critical advantage during high-tempo missions. And here's something even more remarkable. The Gripen is designed to take off and land on roads or highways. That's made possible thanks to its reinforced landing gear, which keeps the aircraft high enough above the asphalt to prevent debris from being sucked into the intakes. For countries like Ukraine, where air bases could be under constant threat, that kind of flexibility could literally mean the difference between survival and defeat. And it's not just the engineers who are impressed, the pilots are too. On October 30th, Business Insider published an article quoting a Ukrainian fighter pilot who said, "The Gripen is the only fighter in the world I'd sell my soul for." That wasn't media hype, it was the genuine voice of a Ukrainian ace pilot, Vadim Voroshilov, a MiG-29 veteran who's seen real combat. On social media, Voroshilov called the Gripen the ideal option for Ukraine, praising its ability to operate from damaged airfields, its side-mounted air intakes that protect against debris, and its reduced radar signature that enhances survivability. He also emphasized something crucial: the Gripen's interoperability. It can carry and fire both American and European weapons, giving it unmatched versatility on a modern battlefield. And honestly, based on your reactions to our previous Gripen coverage, it's clear that many of you share that admiration. Viewers love this jet for what it represents: smart engineering, independence from US systems, and real-world combat readiness. But for now, all eyes are on what comes next. Will Ukraine's major order move forward? Will Canada become a Gripen assembly hub? Or will the jet's American-made engine become the one factor that sinks the deal before it even takes off? We'll just have to wait and see, because this story is far from over. So tell us what you think. Do you believe the Gripen's rise is unstoppable, or will politics clip its wings?